This is the refreshed Volkswagen T-Roc. If you wish the Mk8 Golf still existed, this could be your next VW. Let's go. This episode is brought to you by Carvago. Be smart, choose your car online with Carvago. I'm not kidding about the Golf. In my opinion, the Mk8 Golf was peak VW, and everything after that is the symbol of how the company is unable to adapt to the digital and electric future. But keep your fingers crossed, because literally 3 days before I recorded this video, VW announced a change at the helm. Oliver Blume promises to focus on the customers. Someone's copying Citroen's strategy here and leaving Herbert Diess. Let's just keep our fingers crossed for Bloom. Now, the T-Roc here is about the size of the Mk8 Golf. The Golf is slightly longer, but the T-Roc is tad wider. The Golf is 3.5 centimeters longer wheelbase, but the T-Roc is 9 centimeters higher, and that's no surprise because it's actually a crossover.
Looking for a car for family, fun or work? Carvago.com is the place for you. Carvago is a modern platform with vetted cars from all over Europe. You can buy a car from the comfort of your home and Carvago will deliver it to your doorstep. Carvago.com features more than 700,000 cars from vetted dealers across Europe. You select a car on Carvago. Carvago sends out its experts and presents you with Car Audit, a full report on the actual condition of the car. Car Audit keeps track of 270 technical points, includes photos as well as final evaluation by a Carvago certified technician. Next, you simply select financing and delivery options, you sign a deal with Carvago, and Carvago buys the vetted car for you. You have 14 days after delivery to test drive and return the car without giving a reason. The price also includes up to 12 months warranty depending on the region. So, what's your car from Carvago going to be like?
And since the T-Roc is a crossover, it's got a larger boot than the Golf, 55 liters larger to be precise. VW says this is 445 liters, and according to my calculations, it could be even slightly more than that. In 2017, during the launch event, I reviewed an all-wheel drive model, which has a smaller boot, 392 liters instead of 445.
Over there, it was impossible to drop the floor, making the boot even less practical and giving you only about 350 liters of cargo space above the floor. This is a front-wheel drive car, so I can drop the floor, the far end bends, so if you need to push something heavy up the folded seats, you don't have to deal with the hump. There are a couple of shopping bag hooks, the floor will stay open and the parcel shelf barely but fits under it. Also, you can fold the front passenger seat and thus carry items up to 235 centimeters long. The boot can be opened and closed with gesture, remote control, or with a button on the tailgate. No separate button to lock the car though, so I ended up leaving the car in the street unlocked for the night.
Let's be honest here, the rear seat in the T-Roc is not a place for tall people. I'm 175 centimeters tall, and with the driver's seat set to my driving position, there's barely any legroom. And behind the passenger seat, which is pushed all the way back, it's even worse. There is a large tunnel running through the middle, so you may want to suggest to the fifth passenger to take one of those per-minute scooters because you need your armrest. With cup holders, yes, the door pockets are on the small side as well.
Behind the armrest is a ski hatch. In the back, you also get air vents and 2 USB-C ports. Isofix anchor points are only on rear seats. I suspect the folding front passenger seat may be the reason why VW didn't install a third Isofix. Changes outside are cosmetic, but in the right direction. In the back, there are those rounded-off reflectors which mirror the daytime running lights in the front. Under the reflectors are fake exhaust tips. In the R line and the R, front and rear corners get vertical intakes and outlets, the latter being fake as well. I prefer the rounded shapes of the Style trim. The lower part of the front and rear bumpers have been smoothed out. Running across the fascia is a light bar like you get on new VW models these days. In some West European countries you also get the T-Roc Cabriolet, which looks like a miniature Range Rover Evoque convertible. It's good €8,000 more expensive than the regular T-Roc, but I see the appeal and would be willing to pay the premium for the open-top experience rather than for the T-Roc R.
Changes in the cockpit are focused around the all-new infotainment system, which is touch-based, and that's not a good thing, just like the touch-based climate control settings. By the way, check the configurator, because if you don't go with the Discover Pro, there is a chance for volume and tuning knob on lesser models. Now, due to the new infotainment screen being bigger, the air vents are now beneath it. Also, no more analog gauges. You will get some form of digital cockpit regardless of the spec. Higher trim cars get the Digital Cockpit Pro, which means a wider driver screen. And who had the brilliant idea to replace the fun body color interior elements with this piano black decor? As far as I know, blue elements can be spec'd in the sporty models. I've also seen matte grey finish in the configurator, so check before you order this dust and fingerprint magnet. Ugh.
The front door pockets are spacious. There is still a physical light switch rather than that silly touch panel you get on newer VWs. The steering wheel is the same, although on sporty trims you get touch controls, and don't get me started on those. The phone cubby is the same, but the USB ports are now USB-C rather than USB-A. The glove box is large, but the armrest storage is tiny. At least the armrest itself is adjustable. The cup holders are okay. Keyless access and ignition is now standard on higher trim cars and can be ordered as an option on base spec as well. The T-Roc is available mainly as front-wheel drive and mainly with petrol engines, a 1-liter 3-cylinder 110 horsepower with 6-speed manual, a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder 150 horsepower 6-speed manual or 7-speed DSG, and a 2-liter 190 horsepower 7-speed DSG 4Motion all-wheel drive. The diesels are 115 and 150 horsepower, the latter with DSG and optionally with 4Motion. And of course there's the range-topping 300 horsepower petrol T-Roc R with DSG and 4Motion, but that's not what regular people buy.
This test car here is the 1.5 TSI Evo with DSG. I recall in early 2017 I attended the launch event for the facelifted Mark 7 Golf, where VW launched the 1.5 TSI Evo engine. It was a bit of a shock actually, because everybody expected better performance than the already punchy 1.4 TSI. Meanwhile, the 1.5 TSI felt like it was pulling back. Now, 5 years later, I imagine VW has reprogrammed it a number of times, and maybe at the same time my expectations are now lower.
VW claims this car should do 0 to 100 km per hour in 8.3 seconds. During my test runs, there was no way I could get below high 8s. Perhaps with the optional sport suspension and drive mode selector, I could get a better result. And yes, I did put the gearbox in sport mode. Lack of the drive mode selector may also explain why instead of 6.1 liters per 100 km combined, I was averaging high 7s.
During the acceleration test runs, I clearly felt the computer is cutting power at the start, so even with ESP turned off, there was no wheel spin, which I suppose is a good thing, but I get the impression that VW mainly wants to curb the emissions. On the plus side, compared to the previous attempts at keeping emissions at bay, this version of powertrain software, and I'm talking about VW in general, doesn't lead to this acceleration lag. In earlier VW models, when you, for example, crawled or coasted to a junction, let's say, and you saw that the coast is clear, you would floor it, only to find out that the car is still crawling and the other car, which previously was miles away, is now approaching, and it's very quick, very close, and it's honking at you.
How's the ride and handling? Fine. While the suspension itself is not particularly harsh, the cool-looking 19-inch rims do nothing to improve the ride comfort when going over rougher road sections. Visibility is average and so is soundproofing. This is a pleasant enough car, just like the Mark 7 Golf.
I really appreciate the safety tech. This T-Roc has the optional IQ Drive Travel Assist Whatever pack, which includes adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist and lane change assist.
All this works seamlessly enough that you can even use it in stop-and-go traffic. After the traffic stops and gets going again within several seconds of stopping, the car doesn't require driver input. Also, you can turn on the predictive cruise control feature, which means the car reads road signs and adapts speed accordingly. However, I have mixed feelings about this. You can abide all the speed limits and still end up with a tailgating champion up your bum. So, use at your own risk. Prices of the VW T-Roc start at €24,345 for the 1-liter petrol engine. The diesel is €27,945, and this 1.5 DSG style test car starts at €34,920, but with options it costs €40,000.
While the Mark 8 Golf doesn't do it for me, the facelifted T-Roc still has a bit of the good old Mark 7 Golf about it, and if I were you, I'd take it into consideration when choosing a car. With that said, if you're not looking for performance, the new Kia Niro Hybrid eats the T-Roc for breakfast, and if you want T-Roc R adrenaline and Skoda Karoq practicality, then the Cupra Ateca is what you need. And how do you like the refreshed VW T-Roc? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.